This year's Women's Day theme is Balance for Better. Not because it's fair, but because it's better for business. When you hire a person for the job, you don't hire them based on their gender, but you hire them based on the value they bring to work. But what if we live in a world where our perception of value is skewed, where a stereotype of a leader is male, where unconscious bias and discrimination against women is rampant, where we're afraid to speak up because I do not want to be known as the victim. I do not want to be known as the person who was harassed, bullied, and discriminated against. I want to be known for the value I bring to work. I want to be known for my accomplishments. But how can we move forward if we're not willing to talk about the challenges we're facing? Today, I'm going to dare to talk about my story. I had just transitioned into a new role and I was going to take it up a notch. I was assuming more responsibility. I was going to take more charge. I was asking questions. I was speaking up more. But I noticed that something was off. My sentences kept on getting interrupted. My ideas were flat out dismissed. People weren't making it to my meetings, and those who did show up were basically just fidgeting with their phones. I was puzzled and confused. What was I doing wrong? Then came 8th of March. I was sitting in an all-day workshop, excited to learn. And then, an hour into the workshop, I saw one of my male colleagues walk across the room, tap me on my shoulder and hand me a task and said, Nada, I think you should rather be working on this. I looked up at him confused. He was not my boss, and this task not so important. I glazed at the room around me. All men. He could have asked anyone else in that room, but he asked me because clearly I did not belong. I was the odd one out. I was confused and perplexed. And I remember the day vividly, not because I spent it in tears, but because it was Women's Day. And I told myself, Nada, this is 2018. You're in Scandinavia, the region that prides itself for championing women's rights. This is just a coincidence. But is it a coincidence when it happens over and over again? The first time he tapped me on my shoulder, I did as he had asked. I stepped out of the room, calculated in my head, it's going to take me about 2 hours and I'll make it time for when the workshop resumes after lunch. And that's exactly what I did. I came down, took my seat. A few minutes in, I saw the same colleague rise again, tap me on my shoulder and said, Nada, you forgot to capitalize the A on the appendix. And he said, I don't think you need to be in this workshop. I looked at the room around me again and no one else seemed to notice. So I was just left asking myself, am I just overreacting? And there, a question that has come to define us women. Every time we speak up against discrimination, it's labeled as an overreaction, so much so that we ourselves do not trust our own instincts and label it as an overreaction. My only regret from last year is that I did not react strongly enough. If we want to create balance for better, we need to react strongly against blatant and subtle discrimination against women. In my effort to make a positive difference for women all around the world, I will be speaking up more. My story is just one of millions of other stories, and I would like to hear more from others. So tell me, what is your story? Thank you for watching, and happy Women's Day.